The power stations haven't really standardized on connectors, and the solar panel makers are off on a different standard for connectors. So I'm just going to show the Jackeries because I'm most familiar with them, but it's very similar with a lot of other power stations. Hook it to a solar panel. That's what input means. Output means if you're going to draw energy out of the Jackery. The first half of this is input. So I'm going to start with the baby bear and work up to the papa bear. For the Jackery 160, I think it's a 240 or 280, the 300, the 500, and the 1000. They all have this input here, and that is this input. It's a barrel connector. I'll have this in the comments, what it is, where to get it, and where to get various types of these connectors to hook almost anything to anything. The Jackery 1500 and 2000 are different. They use a larger pin. They use a much larger pin for heavier current. I'm using 3 different types of solar panels, only Jackery power stations, but I've got a lot of different types of connectors and controllers to make things more compatible. This particular cable is for the Jackery small pin connector of anything below the 1000. Anything below the 1000. I also have the 1500, which uses this large pin, so I have an adapter which connects to the small pin and makes it into the large pin. It's part of my my kit. You can get these adapters that go in both directions. They'll go from large to small and small to large. You may want to put it in a different location than the solar panel, so I got this 10-foot extension cord. It accepts the input from the small Jackery solar panel and outputs it to the small Jackery input connector. And this has been very useful in times where I have to have the Jackery in a heated environment because they won't charge below freezing. And if it's raining out or snowing out, or if I have to put it in my my plastic tub greenhouse to get the Jackery warm enough to charge in single-digit temperatures, it's come in handy. $100 a piece. Security may be a concern also. You may want to put your Jackery in a car, run this cable out to the solar panel and shut the door. That way it won't disappear. Here I've put the Jackery 100. I've laid it on top of the 200. This is the Jackery 200-watt solar panel. And the cable has 2 Velcro wires on, 2 Velcro organizers on it to keep it from flopping around like some of the prior versions. Let me plug this in. The cord that comes with it, on the Jackery solar panel side, you have these 2 pin connectors, and they're keyed, so you can't put them in the wrong way. They only go in the right way because of that slot here. And they match up with the solar panel. I'll show you what that looks like. Here's another view of connector cable. Here's the side that goes to the solar panel. Here on the output side, you have the Jackery small connector and an adapter for the large connector. I want to connect this, my primary use for this solar panel is going to be to charge my trailer. And the initial tests were pretty good, but it's way too soon for me to say anything about how this solar panel performs. I have nothing but high expectations based on Jackery's reputation and their quality so far. So in order to hook this to my trailer is using these ZAMP type automotive connectors. They're not ZAMP at all, but that's what ZAMP uses and people know them that way. So on one side of this cable, there's adapter cable, and I'll have this in the comments like everything else, is this automotive connector, which is what I'm calling it, and on this side is the connector that accepts both the large and the small Jackery output connectors. So I'm covered with all my solar panels from Jackery. I can connect them to anything. Now, once again, I just want to remind you, when you buy these adapters, make sure they fit and test them. And make sure they fit, because some connectors have a plastic collar on it like this, and unless the receiving end can accept that, it won't work. But all the ones I have, I tested and they all work. You know, I have an awful lot of links in the bottom here, and if you find any errors in it, please do let me know and I'll correct them. But I've done the best I can to make sure that they're correct. For instance, I'm going to connect this guy up with the Jackery connectors right in front of your face. Now that one is the wrong connector, it's too big, so I would need to use the adapter. And there we go, now it fits perfectly. Now let's try the other one. And make sure that works. Okay, so you've got to test them all, because there's a lot of variation between all these vendors. You know, they're all coming out with all different things from all over the world. So you need to verify your connections. So on the Jackery itself, there's this little port over here. It's closed with a rubber plug, and you pop that out, and there's where the wire goes in. Of course, I use my solar panels to charge my Jackeries, but I also use them to charge the trailer. So I would need the solar panel to be able to connect to this this automotive connector. This end goes into the solar panel, and then I need this one. You know, obviously this won't fit this thing, so I have this other cable which I just showed, and on one end is this automotive connector, commonly known as a ZAMP connector, and on the other end is the female portion, which will accept the connection from this Jackery. I've got to use this connector in here to accept. There we go. Now it's a good connection, and this connector came with this little adapter too. I guess they realized that it wouldn't work without it. So now I'm able to connect in the Jackery 200, the 100, whatever I've got here. I can connect Dokios, I can connect whatever I need. So this is a handy connector to have. I have one for each port, and I'm going to have a controller on each of these ports, so I'll just be totally high available. Along with the panels, Jackery also sent this new connector for the 2000 model unit. And this again has that large pin. And it has 3 connectors over on this side. For this section of the video, I'm going to talk about the output of power from the Jackery to devices. Obviously, you have your plug-and-play USB connectors, and you have your AC output. Output on a 300 is this 12-volt connector. Now, if you know, those are pretty straightforward, automotive 12-volt connectors. But if you like to play, you may want to consider this thing. It's expensive. It's about $20 for this connector, but it allows you to use bare wire connections. This is very useful if you don't know what you're going to be connecting. You can also hook in a probe. It goes right in besides a bare wire connection, and you'll have 2 alligator clips or test equipment or whatever is on your the other end of this, maybe a meter or something. That comes in quite handy too. I'm using it for output, but you can use this in a lot of different ways. We have the 500, similar setup, AC, USB, 12-volt output. Now these are also 12-volt outputs. If you're a 12-volt user and you, I find a 500 to be a pretty good rig, you know, if it's adequate power for you. You can also get these, I think these are Goal Zero or one of the other companies. It's a, it's another socket for 12 volts. So if one is not enough, you could put on 3. You can't exceed the 10 amp max for the output, or 12 amp max, 10 amp max for the output, total 12-volt output. If you need more 12-volt connections than that on this other unit, you can just get a 12-volt splitter like this, and you'll be in business. Again, you can't exceed the maximum 12-volt output, which on this unit, I think they're all 10 amp. Connecting devices to the Jackeries all fit in this container, and the connectors I need to connect the controllers, including the controllers and the solar panels, all fit in this container. Now, in this bag, now I'm about to install the controllers. My trailer configuration shortly, in a couple of weeks, when I'm on the road, I'm going to do this with lever nut connectors and a wire stripper. That's all I need to do this, and a test meter. I'm going to be installing my controllers. My trailer will have 3 controllers. It'll have a Victron. It'll have 2 of these Dokio PMW controllers. So I'm going to, I'll talk about that later. I have complete versatility. Why would I do that? You know, you only need 1 controller. Well, I camp out in the crummiest weather. I like everything to work. Some companies like Dokio are using these XT connectors. So in order to connect up a solar panel to my trailer battery and use this as the controller, you have these other connectors. So what comes out of a Dokio is this connector, automotive, and what it goes into is these XT connectors. And what comes out of the controller is an XT connector, and I need that to go back to a automotive type connector to plug into my trailer. So if you need these XT to automotive connectors, I'll have those listed that way in the comments. There should be enough here for you to figure out what you need. I don't think I'm going to hit a home run on every person's exact need, but this is all should be helpful, I hope. Let me know. I can't possibly cover every individual configuration and every individual power station. There is no standard for positive or negative on these automotive connectors. They can be reversed very easily. Okay, red is going into this side, so this is positive. That's the way my whole system is set up. But I found plenty of connectors that weren't configured that way. They would short out if they were connected. So what you also, it's a good idea to have several of these polarity reversers. When you plug this in, it reverses the polarity positive to negative on the pins, and that allows you to just very easily adapt to whatever you're connecting to. Always use a meter on these. Always test what's what before you plug it in, or you may you may have a smoke condition.